Greetings, film fanatics. Filmholmes here, and welcome to another rendition of Too Many Movies. So this one is going to be about the Austin Powers Trilogy. Yes, all three movies, somebody suggested it, and I was going to rewatch them, but I've seen all three of these movies probably 10 times each. So I know the movies, front to back, back to front. I know them very well, and I thought it'd be a lot of fun to talk about them, so thank you very much for your suggestion. Don't remember what the fuck your name is, but thank you very much. Hopefully you enjoy this, but today I'm going to talk about the Austin Powers Trilogy, and that means we have to start with the very first one, Austin Powers, International Man of Mystery. So the first Austin Powers movie is, of course, written by Mike Myers, an SNL alum who was trying to, kind of find his way into Hollywood. He had a huge hit with Wayne's World, and then Wayne's World 2 was kind of what it was. So I Married an Axe Murderer, three movies that I really love. Three movies I should get to eventually, but Austin Powers for right now. And directed by Jay Roach, who directed all three of them, in case I forget to mention it again. But Austin Powers was basically a complete spoof of James Bond, and even other spy thrillers, but mainly the James Bond series. But the story is Austin Powers, International Man of Mystery, played by Mike Myers, is a 60s agent who's probably the deadliest agent in the world. Not the best person to look at, but women find him irresistible. Men want to be him. Gonna put that down so I don't hold it up the whole fucking time. And his arch nemesis, Dr. Evil, also played by Mike Myers, escapes into space and freezes himself to one day come back. He freezes himself for 30 years. Austin Powers does the same thing, is unthawed into the 90s with Dr. Evil, so they can fight once again. And the rest of the story is Austin Powers trying to fit in. Now it's no longer the 60s, and he's trying to fit in, a fish out of water, but done very well and very funny, but also try to figure out what Dr. Evil has planned, and trying to thwart him so he doesn't rule the world, or try to rule the world like he always has tried to do. Now, this movie, I'm going to go ahead and say it is, without a doubt, the best one in the entire series. It's so original. There had been some spy spoofs, but nothing done as well as this. The Austin Powers character was very original and very funny. His catchphrases, yeah baby, just stuff that we remember now, even almost 20 years later. Austin Powers took over the world, and that happened in the second movie, but the first one was a pretty decent hit. I remember a friend of mine let me borrow it. I didn't even know what it was. And I watched it, and I was like, I have to buy this, and I had it on VHS, and I watched it all the time, and that's how it got big. That's how it eventually got a sequel, was because the home video market, it was one of the most rented movies out there, and one of the most bought. And then they made the second one, and it fucking exploded. But the first one, the whole fish out of water thing is very well done, very funny. It's cleverly written. The stuff they spoof, the gags, the jokes. What was the one? He's with Elizabeth Hurley's character, who is his new sidekick, the daughter of his old sidekick from the 60s, and she's taking pictures of one of the bad guys, and Austin goes, and it's just a little, spy camera, and he goes, let me see, and he takes out this camera with this huge fucking lens. It's piss your pants hilarious. And the love story between him and Elizabeth Hurley, I think, is very well done, and I believe it, and Mike Myers is just gold as Austin Powers. It's a completely original character that I don't really get tired of seeing him play. It's probably his most well-known character, without a doubt, even more than Wayne Garth. Oh, God. Wow. Wayne from Wayne's World. I can't remember his last name. Wayne, Garth Algar, and Wayne... I don't remember. Anyway, other videos for the future. But Austin Powers, it's a shame that this one wasn't a bigger hit, because I think a lot of people, they remember the second and third one more, and it's a shame because this one, it's directed well. The sets, it was kind of low budget. I like how it's not really much CG. It's real sets, and they look good, but they look like a James Bond movie would. It matches very well. And the stuff they spoof from James Bond is just so well done that it's never going to be that well done again. They did it too well, almost. Like, what else are they going to do? Austin Powers did it. You know, it's like, Simpsons did it! Well, when it comes to James Bond, Austin Powers did it! So, that's how good it is. And I don't think it gets its due for that. It took me years. You know, the second one was always my favorite because that's when I really became a huge Austin Powers fan. I saw it in the theaters probably 4 times. But as I got older, I'm like, the first one is the much better film of the series. So many classic scenes when he's getting choked out in the bathroom, and Tom Arnold, probably the only time he was funny in a movie, in the stall next door. It's just, you know, it's some jokes that are kind of, you know, just lame humor, but that's also why it makes it funny. So if you haven't seen it, please see it. It's a fantastic first entry in the Austin Powers franchise. Very, very well done. The best spy spoof movie that's been done yet. And I can watch it this day. I think it is one of my favorite comedies. It's lower on the list, or higher. I don't know how it goes. But I still am just in love with the movie. I love everything about it from beginning to end. So Austin Powers, International Man of Mystery, I give a solid 4 out of 5. I really do. Like, I think it deserves 4 stars. It really does. It's entertaining as hell. It's clever as hell. You know, it is well acted by the entire cast. Mike Myers does a great job in his dual roles, and the supporting cast is great. The script was great by Myers. I don't know how much improv was really done, but it all comes together to make, you know, just a really fun movie. But next, we're going to move on to the sequel that I never thought would happen, but did, and made Austin Powers an international, ironically, sensation. Austin Powers, The Spy Who Shagged Me. Like I said before, this is the movie that made Austin Powers and this franchise huge. I saw it in the theater 4 times at least. I mean, we all did. Who didn't see this? And we were saying the catchphrases, you know, in school. Everybody was. All the fucking catchphrases from this movie. And I loved it. And I watched it all the time when I got it. You know, I watched it all the damn time. And the whole mini-me thing. I mean, that was so damn funny. And the Seth Green stuff, again, hilarious. Even more in this one than in the first one. Heather Graham, not the greatest actress, but she was gorgeous in this, and she was funny. I mean, it's Austin Powers, the spy who shagged me, and we get to find out what shagged actually means. You know, to a kid, when did this movie come out? 1999. Oh, wow. You know, for me, I was almost in high school, so the humor in this was funny. Fat Bastard, you know, was hilarious, and it was just it's an all-around really fun movie, and it still is to this day. But it doesn't hold up as well as you think. Unlike the first one, that really holds up even more now than back then, The Spy Who Shagged Me is very dated. And by that I mean a lot of the humor that I found hilarious back then, I just don't get now. Like Fat Bastard saying like, "I ate a baby!" And he wants to like then eat mini-me. It's stuff like I still find humorous. I don't find it nearly as funny as I used to. And there's still a lot of really clever stuff in this. And then you get Austin Powers like drinking a cup of shit. And it's a funny gag, but it's just like, it just, you know, but, okay. I don't want to be too hard on this movie. I still love this movie. But it's become a movie that I love, not because it's so good, but because it's also nostalgic. It reminds me of when I watched it. But it's still a very entertaining movie and a very good sequel to the first Austin Powers. I didn't talk about the story, I'm sorry. The story in this one I'll go over real quick. Austin Powers is still in 1999. He becomes single again. Won't explain that. But basically he has to go back in time to 1969, I believe, because Dr. Evil travels in time with his new sidekick Mini-Me, which is a clone of him, but 1/8 his size. And the two of them together is gold. It's hilarious. It was a great idea by Mike Myers for this movie. It's so damn funny. And Austin Powers has to go back in time because Dr. Evil steals Austin Powers' mojo. He has to get it back and also stop Austin Powers. He meets Felicity Shagwell, you know, played by Heather Graham. and he's back in the 60s again, which is a lot of fun, and hilarity and fun ensues. And they still do a lot of great gags, you know, making fun of James Bond movies and stuff like that. Just a lot of really, really clever humor, but a lot of humor that's really not so clever. That was funny back in 99, but not so much in 2016. You know, this movie's, like I said, very nostalgic for me, but it doesn't hold up as well as I wanted it to. But on that note, The Spy Who Shagged Me, I still give a 3.5 out of 5. I do. I do give it that. Because it's more than an average movie. By far, it's more than an average movie. It's very, very fun to watch to this day, from beginning to end. Just so much fun stuff. The beginning scene with Austin Powers naked in the hotel, that's still hilarious, and a lot of great gags. Him and Felicity in the tent, and it looked like she was taking shit out of his ass. Or not literally shit, but like items out of his ass. That was funny. We remember that stuff. And, I still love the movie. I love the sequel, not as much as the first one, but it's a damn fine sequel to Austin Powers. And again, it must have been good enough because it made Austin Powers huge around the entire world and made Mike Myers a Hollywood player. So, on that note, we're going to move on to the last movie, at least so far, in the Austin Powers Trilogy, which, of course, it would be the last one because it's the third movie. It's a trilogy. But what I meant was there's talk over the years of making a fourth one. Hasn't come to fruition yet, but it's the last movie in the Austin Powers Trilogy. Austin Powers in Goldmember. Okay, this movie, when it came out, like, set records. I don't know if you people remember this. Like, it was like the biggest opening for a comedy film of all time. And you can look that up. It's true. I don't even know if it still holds that record. It may still hold that record. It made like $90 million its first weekend for a comedy film. If you even make $90 million total as a comedy film, that's amazing. And I remember I saw it in the theater, and just like everybody else, I freaking loved it. Because, again, it's just entertaining to see Mike Myers in this role. Fuck, oh my god, Michael Caine as the father of Austin Powers. How can you go wrong with that? That is perfect. And it's obvious he's having such fun in the role. But anyway, I need to get to the story. But Austin Powers, I believe he's now back in the future, finally captures Dr. Evil, but Dr. Evil has joined up with an evil villain called Goldmember. And back in time, Austin Powers' father is kidnapped by Goldmember, and Austin Powers has to once again travel in time to the 70s to save his father. He meets up with an old love, played by Beyonce Knowles, who I will say, I believe it was her first big movie, did an excellent job. She's very funny, she's very beautiful, of course. Jay-Z's a lucky motherfucker, but plays it very well. And her and Austin Powers do have some chemistry. She's a pretty well-written character for a movie like this. But as always, hilarity ensues. You know, him and Michael Caine are great together. You know, him playing Dr. Evil was great. Fat Bastard comes back. Mike Myers also plays Goldmember, you know, and really weird character, but still funny nonetheless. Still fun. Of course, the spoof of Goldfinger. And it's, again, the spoofs in this are hilarious. A lot of really funny scenes. The scene with Nathan Lane talking for Beyonce Knowles in the nightclub after a really funny scene with Goldmember, it's great. It's really great comedy. And him and Michael Caine are, you know, wonderful together as father and son. The overall story is kind of heartwarming and pretty good. And the ending, it did kind of feel like an ending, which bothered me at the time, but if this is the last movie in the trilogy, at least it did give it kind of an ending for Austin Powers, Dr. Evil. Their relationship is delved into a little bit more, which I liked, and it was pretty well done. You know, I kind of didn't see it coming, but I did. And kind of a little twist at the end of the movie. But nothing huge. You can figure it out. But, you know, again, a very well put together script by Mike Myers, and well directed by Jay Roach. Great casting. Again, it doesn't hold up as well. You know, this was, what year was this movie made? 2002, 2002. I was a sophomore in high school. I remember I saw this in the theater. The only reason I don't like or didn't like this movie, I mean, I loved it when I saw it, but there's a reason why I didn't like it. Kevin from the Wonder Years plays a mole. But the joke is, and it's a hilarious joke, is that he is a mole, but he also has a mole on his face. Very funny joke. But while sitting there in the theater, I knew people are going to point at my face as long as this movie is a hit. And the movie was a hit for a long fucking time. Because as you can see, I have a mole that I've had since I was born. And no joke, the moment I left that movie with my friends, who were all making fun of me, which fine, I don't care. Some stranger walked up to me and touched my face, the part with my mole on it, and went, "Molly, Molly, 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 Molly." Kind of made me hate the movie a little bit, you know, because I have no issues with this mole. I did growing up, but I'm cool with it now. I don't want to ever get rid of it. It's a part of me. It's a part of who I am. I'm cool with it. But back then, as a sophomore in high school, that shit bothers you. When strangers will come up and go, "Molly, Molly, Molly," when I got to school, "Oh, Molly, 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 Molly." Fucking assholes. Like, So, as much as the mole thing is hilarious in the movie, at the time, I didn't find it so goddamn funny. It took me a couple years to really enjoy the movie again, and to this day, it is enjoyable. The opening scene where they got the big-time actors to play the Austin Powers characters was really funny, you know, and even the ending was funny. I don't know, like, I still enjoy this movie, and it's a wonderful ending to the film series if they don't make any more, which I kind of hope they don't, because it's too late now anyway. It's been shown that if you wait, for the most part, if you wait too long to make another movie for a series, it's probably going to be complete shit. Unless it's like an animated movie. But to this day, there's just so much about this movie I love. It's on par with The Spy Who Shagged Me. It's not as nostalgic for me as Spy Who Shagged Me, but it is in a way, because this is what the comedy was like at the time. It's like a time capsule, and it still holds up in a lot of ways. Some jokes just miss completely, but a lot of jokes, when they hit, you're going to be laughing for a few minutes because it was so damn funny. You're going to laugh over the next joke. So I have nothing but good feelings towards Goldmember. So Austin Powers and Goldmember, I do give a 3.5 out of 5. I think it's on par with The Spy Who Shagged Me. Neither one are as good as the first movie, but still very enjoyable, and I recommend all three. So there you go. Those are my thoughts on all three Austin Powers movies. I'm sorry I didn't really say more, but all the movies are very similar, so it's hard to find a lot of differences to talk about. But I still love this trilogy, talking about it makes me want to rewatch all three, so maybe I'll do that soon. But I've seen all three movies at least 10 times each, more than likely, so I know the movies very well. But talking about it makes me want to watch them again, because they are that much fun. They are that good. But, I just realized in the last video I did the Beverly Hills Cop trilogy. I didn't give it a final rating for the whole trilogy. And I'm not going to here, because it doesn't really need it. The first movie was great. 2 and 3, 2 was okay, 3 was awful. The Austin Powers trilogy, really, I don't need to give it a rating for the entire trilogy. I don't need to, they're all very similar. I gave the first one a little bit higher score than the other two because it does deserve it, because it's more clever and it's more original than 2 and 3. But really, the series as a whole, it is what it is. It's the Austin Powers Trilogy. And if you haven't seen them, go see them, But I consider all three movies, they're very similar, but they're very different. It's a trilogy, but kind of same with the Beverly Hills Cop trilogy, you can kind of watch one without the other. I mean, you can't, but you can. You know what I mean? The story doesn't really keep going. There isn't an overall story arc like when I reviewed the Kung Fu Panda trilogy or even the Toy Story trilogy. The characters in this, they don't really grow and change. I guess in the last one, Dr. Evil does, but that's really it. So you can watch Goldmember and not watch the first two. You can watch the second one, not watch the first one. You can just watch the first one, not watch 2 or 3. So I'm not going to give it an overall rating. it doesn't really need it. You saw the ratings I gave. But that's the Austin Powers Trilogy. I still love all three movies, so if you haven't seen them, go and watch them. I do recommend them. You know, this was Mike Myers at the top of his career. You know, one of my favorite comedic actors. For the most part, he's been in a lot of shit, too. But anyway, I'm Filmholmes. This was Too Many Movies. Thank you very much for joining me. As you can see, I got a lot more movies to watch. If you have any suggestions of movies you want me to watch and review, please comment below this video, and I will see you in the next video. Later.